Okay, so the last topic on the introduction to physiology is all about homeostasis. Na? So, okay. So I guess the concept of homeostasis is not very foreign to because you had your zoology, you had your endocrinology, and it's actually also the core of endocrinology, So the hormones are very important, in regulating different bodily processes, and the purpose of regulation is, of course, to attain homeostasis, no? So before this, okay, so what are the objectives, no? So under this topic, you should be able to, number one, define homeostasis. Second is describe the components of a feedback system. Third is contrast the operation of a negative and a positive feedback mechanism or loop. And then fourth is explain how homeostatic imbalances are related to disorders. Okay. So going back to this slide, in defining homeostasis, so this came from two Greek words. So first is homeo, it means sameness or the same, and stasis, meaning standing still. So it simply means, homeostasis simply means standing still or staying the same. Okay. And homeostasis, to define it simply, it's a condition of equilibrium or balance, So there should be a condition of balance or equilibrium in the body's internal environment, and this is due to the constant interactions, among the different body regulatory processes, So it means the systems or the regulatory processes, they would have to work harmoniously, they would have to be in sync, they would have to work together in order to attain balance or homeostasis of our internal environment. And later, we would know what's that internal environment. Okay, so homeostasis is said to be a very dynamic process. Now, let me just um, activate the pointer. So it's a very dynamic process. No? It's an ever-changing process because the internal environment is always subjected to disruptions. Okay, so it means if you have one controlled variable or if you have one controlled condition, like for example, body temperature. So body temperature, has to shift, okay, from among the points, in a narrow range, that should be maintained, in order to maintain life itself. Like for example, the normal range, or the range for the normal body temperature is from 36.1 to 37.2 degrees centigrade. So if a person has a temperature of around, for example, mga 36.9, so that's still normal, no? That's why we're saying that the normal body temperature on the average is 37 degrees centigrade. Okay, so temperature, body temperature changes because we are also subjected to different temperatures. So we could be subjected to a very hot temperature or very cold temperature. So there are changes now in the internal environment. Another control condition is our blood pressure. Okay, it always changes now depending on the condition. So you have here the normal, no, the range of um, BP of a normal adult, no? So the systolic pressure is from 95 to 135 millimeter mercury, and the diastolic pressure is from 60 to 80 millimeter mercury. So I hope you can still recall, no? So when we say systolic pressure, so that's the pressure of blood, okay, in the blood vessels when the heart is contracting or when the heart is pumping. So that's 95 to 135 millimeter mercury again. And diastolic is the pressure of the blood in blood vessels when the heart is relaxing. So if a person has a blood pressure of around 130 to 75, so that's still normal. Okay. So again, there are various factors, that would affect the blood pressure. So it could either go up or it could go down. No? So another is our interstitial fluid pH. No? So pH is another control variable. So it should stay within 6.6 to 7.6. Okay. And then, of course, we have levels of water and nutrients and also gases. So these are examples of controlled conditions. And again, these controlled conditions, they change. They vary depending on particular stimuli or disruptions. Okay? But again, no, at the end of the day, the sabi nga natin, no, the body's regulatory processes should work together in order to maintain balance or homeostasis. And these regulatory processes do this, no, through feedback mechanisms or a feedback system. Okay. Now, when we're talking of homeostasis, of course, we're talking of the body fluids. So I mentioned earlier we have the internal environment. Now, there should be a constant, uh, there should be an equilibrium. No? There should be a balance of the internal environment. No? And we're talking of our body fluids. Okay. So a body fluid is also called a humor. So if you can recall the topic on the history of physiology, no? So Hippocrates is considered the father of medicine, and he was the one who introduced us, no, to the concept of the four body humors or the four body fluids. And he said that if there would be imbalances, no, in this four body fluids, so it's more likely that a person can have a disorder or a disease. Okay. So anyway, that's why also in our discussion of the immune system, no, we refer to the antibody-mediated immunity as humoral immunity because the antibodies are found in the body humor or in the body fluids. Okay. So again, the body fluids, no, they are compartmentalized. They are not really chaotic, no, inside the body. So, but they are compartmentalized. So they occupy three compartments. No, so one, you have the intracellular fluid, or it's abbreviated as ICF. So of course, this is the fluid that is found inside the cell. Okay. And then the extracellular fluid, abbreviated as ECF, is of course the fluid that is found outside of the cell. Now, under extracellular, now the fluids can be compartmentalized in several areas. So it can be intravascular, so within the blood vessel. So we're talking of the plasma of the blood. It could be interstitial, no? Interstitial fluid, or simply this is the tissue fluid. And it could be transcellular fluid. So transcellular fluid occupies a third compartment, and that's the compartment of a particular organ. No? Like for example, so from a tissue fluid or from the interstitium or from the tissue, diba? So interstitial fluid can enter the lymphatic vessels. Okay, and we are calling that already lymph. So lymph is an example of a transcellular fluid. No? So again, a transcellular fluid is actually an interstitial fluid that enters the third compartment, no? The compartment of an organ. Okay. Like for example, you have the pleural fluid, so it's found between the pleurae of the lungs. Okay. You have the pericardial fluid, so it's found between the layers of the pericardium. Now you have the parietal and the visceral pericardium. So at the middle of those layers, so you have there the fluid. So you have peritoneal, so you have the fluid of the abdominal area. And then you have synovial, so synovial is found within the joints, especially our diarthrosis or the freely movable joints. That's why we can move them. And that's why when we can actually hear the crackling sounds. No, it's because of the bubbles being produced in the synovial fluid. And then we have the cerebrospinal fluid from the term cerebrospinal. So it's the fluid that actually circulates within the ventricles of the brain and the spinal cord. Okay. And the ventricles of the brain and the central canal of the spinal cord. When you say intraocular, so that's the fluid in the eye or within the eye. And then you have the urinary lumen. So that's the fluid inside the lumen or the big space, no, in the urinary bladder. Thus you have the GI lumen or the gastrointestinal lumen. So these fluids are called again transcellular because from the tissue, no, the tissue fluid or the interstitial fluid enters a different compartment. Okay, so when we're talking of homeostasis, now which fluid do you think are we talking about? Being the internal environment. So we're actually talking about the interstitial fluid or the tissue fluid. No? So ito yung tinatawag natin na internal environment. Because why? No? In tissues, you can find here the smallest blood vessels, no, which are the capillaries, and the capillaries are the regions of exchange. That's why the interstitial fluid is also changing all the time. No? So again, no, the process is very dynamic, no, because of an exchange of materials, no, to and from the tissues and the blood vessels. Kaya laging nagbabago. Nagbabago lagi yung kanyang mga controlled conditions or parameters. Okay? Okay. So that's why no, we are considering the interstitial fluid again as our internal environment. No, it's our internal environment. So whenever you see internal environment, no, we are pertaining to our interstitial fluid. Okay. Okay. So okay. So we said that homeostasis is a very dynamic process, no, because the control conditions are always changing because we are subjected to a lot of disruptions. Okay, so examples of disruptions are experienced, no, or are sensed, no, from our external environment. So if we're exposed to extreme temperatures, no, if we're exposed to hot conditions or to cold conditions, to chemicals in the environment, to very loud sounds, etc., etc. So those are examples of external environment disruptions. Okay. We also have disruptions in our internal environments. So as we've discussed earlier, examples are our temperature, our BP, the interstitial pH. Now we have levels of water, levels of nutrients, levels of gases. What else? We have blood glucose level. So those are examples of internal environment disruptions. No, we also have psychological stress. Yes, the psychological stress is also a disruption, no, to our homeostasis, no, especially now during the time of the pandemic. It's very, very stressful to also work from home. And I think everybody would agree with me that it's also very stressful for you as students, no, to do your online assessments, no, to attend your online classes. So hopefully this pandemic ends very, very soon, no? So in order for us not to be disrupted, or in order for us to have a little of the disruptions na para mawala na yung psychological stress, na? Okay. Now, most of the disruptions are mild and temporary. And if the body regulatory processes again work together, no, they can return the homeostasis back to normal very fast, no? Mabilis lang. But if the disruptions are intense and prolonged, like for example, no, if we have an overexposure to extremes in the temperature, no, we've been exposed, no, for a very long time in very hot conditions or in very cold conditions. If we have severe inflammation or infection, if if um, if a person has underwent a major surgery, if a person experienced poisoning. So these are examples of intense and prolonged disruptions. And the body regulatory processes, no, they have to work very, very hard, okay, in order to, again, maintain homeostasis. And fortunately, no, we have two very important regulating systems. So first is the nervous system, and second is the endocrine system. So the nervous system regulates homeostasis by initiating and spreading or transmitting nerve impulses or action potentials. And usually these nerve impulses, no, they cause very fast responses or fast effects so that the body can recuperate also very fast. No, another is the endocrine system. Of course, no, you had your endocrinology last time, no? So the endocrine system, of course, no, consists of endocrine glands, which are responsible for the production and secretion of organic chemical messengers or regulators, and there are the hormones. And usually, the hormones, no, they work a little slower compared to the action potentials generated by the nervous system. Okay, but at the end of the day, the two systems, okay, they again, no, they target homeostasis. And they do this no, by means of a feedback system. Okay, so you have here an illustration of a feedback system. So it's also called a feedback loop, no, because it's a series of events, okay, that um, return bodily processes or monitors, no, controlled conditions, no. So it's a cycle, so it's a loop, okay, and this describes, no, the status of bodily conditions, okay, in which the bodily conditions or the control conditions are monitored, okay, they are evaluated, no, they are changed, and then as the cycle goes, no, these control conditions are again monitored, remonitored rather, reevaluated, and then changed again until homeostasis is attained, no, so until the processes go back to normal, okay. So these monitored variables are said to be the control conditions. Okay? So the control conditions again may include yung kanina natin, no, yung body temperature. So we have blood pressure, we have the blood glucose level, we have levels of gases, we have levels of um, water and nutrients. No? So they are examples. And it says here anything, no, anything that disrupts or changes a controlled condition is called a stimulus. Okay? And there are three basic components of feedback system. So first you have a receptor, then second you have a control center, and then third you have an effector. Okay? So receptors, they monitor the conditions of the variables, no? And the receptors are the ones sending nerve impulses or chemical signals. So depending on the regulatory mechanism, whether it's the nervous system or the endocrine system. So the receptors again, no, they send nerve impulses or chemical signals, no, as input to the control center via the afferent pathway. So when you say afferent, so it means the input is transferred or the input moves towards the control center. Okay. So the control center, in this case, no, we have here the CNS. No, it could be the brain, it could be the spinal cord, depending on the feedback mechanism. And the control center is set to maintain a set point. Okay. So like earlier, no, so we said that the set point of our body temperature is from 36.1 to 37.2, no? So the control center maintains set points, okay, within which the controlled conditions should be maintained, okay, in order to maintain life, okay? So the control center, after receiving inputs, no, from the receptors, um, evaluates, no, evaluates the inputs and sends impulses again or chemical signals again depending on the regulatory mechanism now as output going to the effector, okay, via the efferent pathway. So when you say efferent, now the output now uh, moves away from the control center going to the effector. Okay, so effectors can be any other can be any part of the body, no? As long as the effectors can bring about a change or a response, okay? And the response is the one that would alter, no, a controlled condition, no, which now returns the controlled condition back to normal, okay? So again, it's no, it's a loop, no. Okay, it's a series of events, no, in which the status of the controlled condition is monitored, no. Monitor lagi yan. Okay. Okay, so there are two types of feedback mechanisms. We have the negative feedback and the positive feedback mechanisms. Okay. Okay, so going back. Yeah, no? So it says here that most homeostatic control mechanisms are negative feedback mechanisms. So most of our regulatory processes, no, they exhibit or they follow the negative feedback. Because when we say negative, it doesn't mean bad. Okay? So negative means opposite. Okay? Opposite. So the negative feedback system actually reverses a change in the control variable, break it back to normal. Okay? So if there is an increase in the particular an increase, no, in a particular control variable, so the negative feedback, okay, tends to reverse the change. Okay? So pag increase, dapat ang product niya ay decrease naman. Nire-reverse niya, binabaliktad, no? If there is a decrease in a certain level, so after the feedback, that certain level should increase. Okay? So again, negative means opposite. It doesn't mean bad, no? So example daw, no? So you have high blood pressure. No, high blood pressure is detected and then is lowered. Okay, going back to the normal BP. So there is a reversal, no, from a high controlled variable, in this case, a high blood pressure. So after the feedback, it now becomes lower, okay? Lower in the sense that it goes back to normal, okay? So again, you have here an example of a negative feedback mechanism. So the controlled condition that is now monitored is the blood pressure, okay? So the change in the BP, no, in this case, no, an increase in the blood pressure is now detected by the baroreceptors in certain blood vessels. Okay, so these receptors, they now again send nerve impulses, okay, as inputs, no, going to the control center again via the afferent pathway. So the brain now, no, being the control center, interprets, okay, interprets the input. And we said that the control center has a set point. So it knows the the range, no, of the normal BP. So what it does is it sends impulses as an output to effectors, no? Examples of effectors in this case are the heart and the blood vessels. And okay, these effectors, they now perform a response or produce a response. So in order to decrease the blood pressure, okay, there should be a decrease in the heart rate. So the heart would pump slower than the usual. And the blood vessels, they would now dilate, okay, in order to relieve pressure. So as a result of these responses, okay, the BP now lowers. The blood pressure lowers until it goes back to normal. So that's the beauty of the negative feedback, no? So again, the response is not bad, no? But the response is an opposite. Okay? So initially you have high BP. So as a result of the negative feedback, you now have a low blood pressure, which now returns to normal. Okay. So again, no, most of our regulatory mechanisms are involving the negative feedback. Okay. And Some, no, or very few of the regulatory mechanisms, they now utilize the positive feedback. Okay, so a positive feedback strengthens or enhances or reinforces a change and must be shut down by an outside force. Okay, so it means, okay, ano daw, no? This positive feedback strengthens or enhances or reinforces a change. So pag may mataas na variable, itataas niya pa ng itataas. Pag may mababang controlled condition or controlled variable, ibababa pa niya ng ibababa. Okay? So same direction. Samantalang sa negative feedback, opposite direction. Pag may isang mataas na variable, ang trabaho ng negative feedback ay pababain yung variable na yon. Pag mayroon namang isang mababang variable, ang trabaho ng negative feedback ay pataasin ang variable na yon. Okay? So there is an opposite change, no? And eventually that change would return the system back to normal. Okay? And take note, in a positive feedback, there should be an event outside the feedback system, no, that would shut off the loop, no, that would shut off the cycle. Okay, so here are examples. No, for example, you have contractions of the uterus, no, cause even more contractions during childbirth. No, so example, so during childbirth, so the stretch sensitive nerve cells in the cervix, okay, they sense, no, stretching of the cervix because again, no, in preparation for delivery, di ba? That's the purpose why the doctors are checking the cervix, no, whether it is opening or not, because that signifies that a mother, no, a mother would give birth very soon, no. So those are the receptors, no, the stretch sensitive nerve cells in the cervix. So they're able to sense that, oh, the cervix is stretching, no, and the stretching of the cervix is caused by the contractions of the uterus. Okay, so the receptors now again send nerve impulses to the control center, to the brain, and the brain interprets this as, oh, there is a stretching of the cervix, so we should stretch it even more. Okay, because the brain knows that um, uh, the mother would give birth soon, no? So it means they have to open, or it has to open the cervix to give birth to the passing baby. Okay, so the brain now sends um, so it interprets, no, the inputs being sent by the receptors, and it now sends an output to effectors. Okay, so the output is in the form of this time hormones. Okay, you have the hormone oxytocin. Remember, in your endocrinology, oxytocin is responsible for uterine contraction and for the release of milk, diba, or milk ejection. Okay, that's why it's only during delivery, no, that the milk is prepared for release. So during the entire period of gestation, hindi pa naglalabas ng gatas ang nanay, no? It's because of the work of oxytocin. Okay? So again, no, the effectors, again, you have the muscles in the uterine wall. So oxytocin causes further contraction. Kaya nga pag nagde-labor ang nanay, di ba? Habang palapit ng palapit ang panganganak, pabilis ng pabilis at padami ng padami at pasakit ng pasakit ang contractions. So that's the work of oxytocin. Okay? So again, no, the uterine wall contracts more forcefully and more frequently, and this causes further stretching of the cervix. Ito yung sipit-sipitan na tinatawag, no? Ina-IE. Kung ilang cm na ba? 1 cm, 2 cm, 3 cm. Okay? And again, no? Okay, that produces a response, no? And which is the further stretching of the cervix. Okay? And again, this will be sensed, no? This again, uh, kasi nga positive feedback, no? It causes now the cervix. It causes the uterus to stretch even more, no? The brain again releases oxytocin, and then it causes again contraction of the uterus and stretching of the cervix. So the brain would say, na oh, the cervix is contracting pa, no? The cervix is stretching pa. So we need to send more oxytocin to the uterus so that the uterus can contract more and the cervix can contract more and more and more and more. Okay? And now, what now stops the positive feedback in this case? So it's the delivery of the baby. No? So when the cervix is not stretched anymore, sasabihin ng brain, hindi na siya stretched. Hindi na nahihigit ang cervix, ibig sabihin nakalabas na yung baby. Okay? So that would now stop the cycle or stop the loop. Okay? So this is what we're telling, that the positive feedback strengthens or enhances or reinforces the change. Okay? So in this case, no, the stimulus, no, is the stretching of the cervix. So just as long as the cervix is stretching even more, there is a continued release of oxytocin. Okay? So yun, no? So another is not milk production but milk ejection, no? So the same thing, no? What is the stimulus, no, for this positive feedback mechanism? It's the sucking action of the baby. Okay? So it tells the brain again, no, that the baby is sucking the nipple of the breast, and again it releases more oxytocin so that milk can be ejected or milk can be released in order to feed the young. No, that's why new mothers, no, which would say na ayoko magpadede kasi wala akong gatas. No, it's not true, because again the stimulus for milk ejection and milk production is sucking. So it means you have to the new mom, no, should really encourage the child to or the mom, no, the new mom should really breastfeed the child. Kahit na naiinis pa ang bata, wala siyang makuhang gatas. Pero kasi the stimulus for milk production and injection is sucking. Okay, so when sucking would be absent, no, so the positive feedback mechanism would also stop, and milk will not be ejected, no. So there would be milk production would stop, and there would be no more, of course, no more milk that would be produced by the breast of the mom, no. So that's very, very important, and girls, no, you should understand that, no. Pag wala pang gatas, syempre, hindi sinasabing walang gatas, no. Syempre bago pa lang, no. So sucking is the stimulus for milk production and milk injection, because sabi natin, no, the body is a very sophisticated machine. So why would it bother itself, no, in producing milk when nobody needs it? Okay, and the body would know, no, if there is a baby, or if there is a baby, or if somebody needs it, no, by sensing sucking. Sabihin may nangangailangan ng gatas. So dapat mag-produce ng gatas. Okay? So another example is hormonal control over ovulation. So if you can still recall the female reproductive cycle, no, the ovarian cycle and the uterine cycle. So you're familiar with the work of the luteinizing hormone. Okay, so the luteinizing hormone is secreted. No, it promotes the further development of the ovarian follicle. Okay, so as the ovarian follicle continues to develop, there is an increase in the level of the luteinizing hormone, because the luteinizing hormone's primary aim is for ovulation. Okay, so during the middle of the cycle, nearing the time of ovulation, there is a surge, no, in the amount or in the levels of the luteinizing hormone, and that now causes ovulation or release of the egg from the Graafian follicle. Okay, and the a positive feedback will stop, okay, after ovulation. No? So that's the event outside of the feedback loop, no, that would stop the positive feedback. Okay, so yan, no? Now, given those examples, let's try to compare the negative feedback from the positive feedback mechanisms. So we said that most regulatory activities or responses of the body are of the negative feedback type, or they utilize the negative feedback type, and very few, okay, utilize the positive feedback type. Okay. Now, in relation to a change in the controlled condition, a negative feedback reverses the change. Okay, if there is an increase compared to the normal, if there is an increase in the values of a controlled variable, the negative feedback decreases it. No? And if there is a decrease in a controlled variable, the negative feedback increases it. Okay? Whereas a positive feedback reinforces or strengthens. Okay, strengthens the change. No, so if there is an increase in a particular control variable, the positive feedback continuously increases that variable. If there is a decrease in a certain variable, the positive feedback decreases, no, further decreases that control variable. Okay, and sabi, no, so when does a negative feedback stop? Okay, so nearing homeostasis, no, when the condition, when a particular controlled condition is nearing the normal values, no, or the normal range of values or the normal values, so the negative feedback slows down and eventually stops when everything returns to normal. Okay, whereas a positive feedback, so again, no, an event, okay, that happens outside of the loop, okay, actually stops the feedback mechanism. Like for example, during childbirth, no, the delivery of the baby stops the uterine contraction. In milk ejection, no, the absence of sucking again stops uh, milk release or milk ejection, and ovulation stops the increase in the levels of the luteinizing hormone, no, in the female reproductive cycle. Okay, so hopefully by having these examples, now you will be able to really appreciate our negative and our positive feedback mechanisms because they are necessary, no, to attain homeostasis. Okay, so okay, so we have here homeostatic imbalance. So as long as our regulatory processes are working harmoniously, are working efficiently in order to attain homeostasis or balance, now the body stays healthy and we are fine. Okay, we'll be fine. But um, if a certain portion or if a certain part or if a certain system does not contribute to homeostasis, of course, now we experience homeostatic imbalances. Okay, so if the homeostatic imbalance is moderate, now this could lead to a disorder or a disease. But if the homeostatic imbalance is severe, now it can lead to death. Okay, and again, no, I'm always telling this: the body is a sophisticated machine. It will do anything and everything to survive. It means it will do anything and everything to attain balance. Okay. Now, so these are some clinical terms associated with imbalances. No? So a disorder means it's an abnormality of structure or a function. Okay? Kaya nga disorder pa lang. No? It's not a disease, not yet. No? Whereas a disease, it's a specific illness characterized already by signs and symptoms. So how do you differentiate now signs from symptoms? No? So symptoms, they are said to be subjective changes. You don't really observe them in a person. Okay, so examples, you have pain. Okay, you have headache, you have nausea or dizziness, you have anxiety. Okay, you're being, when you look at a person, you don't automatically say that when he is or she is frowning that he is or she is experiencing pain, diba? Pwedeng kaya nakasimangot, may toyo lang, o hindi lang nakita si crush, ganoon, no? Kaya nga, di ba, sabi ni Baymax, okay, in the scale of 1 to 10, how do you rate your pain? Diba? Because it's unmeasurable din, no? Okay, what about the signs? Signs are, this time, so these are more objective um, variables, no? So signs are observable or measurable changes, no? You can observe them, you can see them. Okay, hindi nila itatanggi, di ba? At pwede rin silang sukatin, no? So example, you have high blood pressure, no? It's although it's not observable, but it's measurable, no? Swelling, okay, swelling is observable, no? It's also measurable. And then we have fever, diba? Or temperature, increase in the temperature. What else? So halimbawa, you have rashes, you have erythema or reddening. So those are examples of signs. No? They are observable and they are measurable. And usually, no, diba, when you're engaging in your annual physical examinations, no, the doctor is really very skilled at diagnosing, no, a particular disease. And one way, no, to diagnose a particular disease is to observe, no? Yung meron kayong physical examination, no? Trying to see the signs and the symptoms. Okay? So, yan. What about aging and homeostasis? So, it says here that aging, of course, is a normal process, no? So, everybody would age. Okay? And aging includes a progressive loss, no, in the ability to maintain homeostasis because, again, no, as a person ages, the cells, they also get tired. No? They get worn out. They also age. Okay? And aging affects all bodily systems. Okay, but the good news is the aging can be slowed down, okay, or minimized by healthy living, no, proper diet, proper exercise. So if you're seeing in Facebook, di ba, may mga, ano ba, mga 90-year-old lola um, who's engaged in yoga and in bodybuilding, no, and they don't look their age, no, they look young for their age. Okay, so again, no, it's up to you. So you should live a healthy lifestyle, no, eat good, eat right, no, rest well. Although kasama sa buhay ng estudyante yung talagang nakakapagod, nagpupuyat, pero pinagdadaanan naman lahat yan. The most important thing is you know how to take care of yourself. Okay, so I guess now with that, no, that ends the introduction to physiology because